Good morning. Thank you very much. I would like, first of all, thank the organizers and the Academy for inviting me to take part in this research work, which I think is really excellent and very important as well, and also for inviting me to present my research, what we have done during this, I don't remember, 6 months, more or less. And I am not a lawyer, because I am mainly a political scientist. My background is history. I studied at the University of Budapest history and also have a degree in Italian literature, linguistics and literature. That is why, as a researcher, I have two backgrounds. One is the European Union related to CFSP, CSDP, mainly about the Mediterranean region. And the other one is Italian politics, internal and external. And today I am going to talk about the common security and defense policy, a little bit about the views of the member states regarding ideas. Because first, I will talk about the background, how we arrived here, a little bit of history, but not too much, and about also ideas like European Defense Union, which was quite a new idea, not really new, and also about strategic autonomy. And there is, I know that the European Union is not a state, of course, it's an international organization, but it is a very special one because it's a sui generis international organization, because this consisting of sovereign states, which are sharing and pooling some of their sovereignties, but not in the field of defense. That is, I know that lawyer would debate what I said, but okay, I am a political scientist, so that is my background. So I am coming from the University of Public Service, and the University of Public Service is in Budapest. Just a few words about it, because it's a quite special university. It was established in 2012 on the basis of previous universities and higher educational institutions, and at the moment it has 4 faculties. And I am coming from the Faculty of Military Science and Officer Training. We have the background of security and defense studies at the university. And also, the university has a faculty for law enforcement and the faculty of public administration and international relations and the faculty of water science. So this is my background. And first, I would like to talk about, because we have now a new world order, because this new world order has changed significantly during the past years. And I would like to quote Josep Borrell. He is the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, and he said that over the last 3 decades, we have seen a rapid transformation in the distribution of power around the world. We went from bipolar configuration between 1945 and 1989 to a unipolar configuration between 1989 and 2008, before entering in what we today could call complex multipolarity. So we are now living in this complex multipolarity, and also I would say that the world economic order is consisted of 3 main poles. One of them is the European Union, another one, of course, the first is US and China. And there is also an emerging Sino-American bipolarity in the world. And on the other hand, there are very important military powers, like Russia, of course, and regional powers like Turkey, which is military and also political power. And the European Union, as I said it before, is a sui generis international actor in international relations. It is, I would say that it's an important world player. So this is how we arrive here to this complex multipolarity. The last period started after 2008, the financial crisis, or maybe 2014, the occupation of Crimea. So this is the time when we saw the rise of China, and also the war returned in Europe, in Ukraine. This was said in 2022, again by Borrell. First, I also would like to just quote for a little bit, because that was said in 1992 by Mark Eysen. He used to be a Belgian politician and economist. And he said, during that time, Europe is an economic giant, a political dwarf, and a military worm. Today, the situation, I think, is different. But as it was said before, CSDP is probably the youngest policy area of the European Union. Europe is in danger. There is a gap between the expectations and the results. He also talked about an alphabet soup regarding initiatives in the field of defense, like, for example, MPCC, PESCO, and other EDF and other abbreviations, which are quite difficult to understand for citizens in general. So that is why there is this gap between the citizens and the European Union. And he also talked about weaponization of everything. Migrants, on one hand, also energy, technological standards can be also tools for competition, and the multilateral system is weakened, has been weakened during the last period. This is just to show that 70%, according to the last Eurobarometer data, 70% of respondents are in favor of a common defense and security policy among the member states. So usually citizens are supporting to have a deeper integration in the field of defense. The whole process of European integration can be considered as a peace project since the beginning, as it started in order to avoid another war in Europe between European states, and that was very successful. But on the other hand, it was clearly created and developed in the shadow of the Soviet threat. And today, we are again in the shadow of Russian threat. So that is why I would say that, again, a war can be a driving force for deeper integration in the field of defense. And it was said by our colleague that 2 days ago, a very important strategy was launched by the Commission. So we can see that also in this field there is a kind of Europeanization process. So we can also see that, for example, the Commission trying to have more role, a more important role in the field of defense. During the 50s, after the failure, I wouldn't like to go back to history, but just to mention it, that during the 50s there was the idea of the so-called European Defense Community, the idea of European army, but that idea failed. And after that, diplomacy, defense, security were not mentioned in the treaties regarding the communities. But after, with years coming, and with the development of the European integration process, there was the need for common voice in the field of foreign policy, security, and defense as well. So there are steps, for example, European political cooperation during the 70s. That was a mechanism outside the treaties in order to harmonize foreign policies of member states. An important step was, of course, the Maastricht Treaty, which established the common foreign and security policy. And after that, during the 90s, Yugoslavian wars, devastating experience of the Yugoslavian wars, became driving force for further integration in the field of defense as well for the European Union. Another important step, Amsterdam Treaty, create the position of the Mr. CFSP. The first person was Javier Solana during that time. And in order to, again, for having one voice in international relations. And after that, the Lisbon Treaty. The Lisbon Treaty introduced very important novelties in the field of CFSP and CSDP. Just to mention a few of them, for example, the European External Action Service was created after that, which can be considered as a diplomatic corps of the European Union. And another one is the permanent president of the European Council, High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, who is at the same time also vice president of the Commission. So it was a process to Europeanize also that policy area. And the idea of European Defense Union was first a little bit brought up a little bit earlier during the discussions for the constitutional treaty. And during that time, it was the European Convention on the Future of Europe in 2002 when the idea of European Security and Defense Union appeared, by mainly France and also Germany supported the idea, and also Luxembourg, Belgium, but other more Atlanticist countries did not. So that is why the idea failed. Also the constitutional treaty failed, but the Lisbon Treaty brought up very important innovations, but for example, defense union was not mentioned in the treaties. The treaties, for example, says that the common security and defense policy shall include the progressive framing of common union defense policy. This will lead to common defense when the European Council unanimously so decides. And after that, there were some institutions of the European Union which backed the idea of kind of European defense, but on the member states' part, that idea was not supported. So it was, for example, a 2009 resolution of the European Parliament, of course not binding, and they said that there would be a need to create the Council of Defense Ministers. A few weeks ago, von der Leyen was talking about Commissioner for Defense. So these ideas are coming back. And also a development of synchronized armed forces in Europe. 2013, European Council had the first meeting dedicated to defense, so that was also an important step. And the idea which attracted most attention was the interview with Jean-Claude Juncker. He, that time, was the president of the European Commission, and he talked about the need for an EU army. And of course, that was more a kind of provocation, because it was a food for thought for further debate about European defense, I would say that. 16 European parliamentary resolution again, non-binding, of course, for member states, that talk about the need for the creation of European Defense Union. And turning point, I think, in this process is 2016, when the so-called global strategy was accepted and welcomed by the European Council. Just to mention it, 2017, there was a reflection paper on the future of European defense. And that also was talking about, it is important because the date, it was talking about the creation of European Security and Defense Union, and it said that should encourage a stronger alignment of strategic culture as well as common understanding of threats and appropriate responses. But it would require joint decision-making and action and greater financial support, solidarity at the European level. So financial question is returning, and it's always very important. And also Jean-Claude Juncker, in his annual speech on the state of the European Union, was talking about the need to create a fully fledged European Defense Union by 2025. So it's next year, should we have a European Defense Union. I would say that it's too early, but step by step, there is a process, and there has been very important step in this field. Other statements which are, I think, very interesting, 2019, that was the beginning of the present European Commission, and Ursula von der Leyen proposed to create European Defense Union, also by 2025, and lead a geopolitical commission. Geopolitics is a controversial term for European integration, because it's more about great powers. And the European Union was just created against the idea of great powers. But during these days, when we have, again, great power competition around us, the European Union needs to adapt itself to the reality of great powers again. And also, 2020, Borrell said that European Union needs to learn the language of power. It means military. And 20, State of the Union speech by Ursula von der Leyen, that one did not mention establishment of European Security and Defense Union and strategic autonomy. Why? Because that was the year of COVID. We were more in the crisis management related to COVID. The process continues. Member states and institutions put together the first threat analysis, 2020, which led to the strategic compass. So the European Union has the security foreign policy strategy, global strategy, and has now a kind of military strategy, which is the strategic compass. 21, idea of an initial entry force appeared in the Foreign Affairs Council. That led to the rapid deployment capacity, RDC, another abbreviation, later with the strategic compass. And also 2023, European Defense Agency Annual Conference, Ursula von der Leyen again talked about defense union, and which was very interesting in 2024 at the Munich Security Conference. She said that if I would be the president of the next European Commission, she would like to be the president of the next European Commission, I would have a commissioner for defense. That's very interesting. Again, I think that it's more for food for thought, because in reality it's not possible to create a commissioner for defense, but it is possible to create a commissioner, for example, for defense industry and space. That would be possible. There are lots of new ideas and concepts. For example, European sovereignty. That idea came from Emmanuel Macron, French president. He had a quite famous speech in 2017 at the University of Sorbonne, and talking about European sovereignty, which is controversial. It provoked debate, of course, but sovereignty is to act autonomously, to regulate. It is related to also to those expressions. Another is the strategic autonomy. That was introduced firstly to act autonomously in 1998 by the Saint Malo Declaration, and later, of course, in 2016 by the global strategy, that the European Union should act autonomously in air, on land, sea as well, and in the cyber, in space, and to act autonomously in order to manage a crisis and to have decisions autonomously. So that is mainly about strategic autonomy. And resilience, all these questions are related to resilience and defense. And which is also, I would say, interesting that originally these concepts were mainly related to defense and security, and today they have broader concepts related to energy, related to economy, related also to technological developments as well. As I said it before, turning point is 2016. Why is Brexit? It had an effect on the whole process, the idea that the UK could leave the European Union. And on the other hand, also, okay, the Russian threat coming from the time when Crimea was annexed. And also, this is the period when the alphabet soup, so-called alphabet soup, started. MPCC, PESCO, CARD, EDF, EPF, RDC. MPCC is military planning and contact capability. That is a control and command structure for non-executive military missions. There are, for example, in Mozambique, for Ukraine, Mali, and also in other countries. That was a very important thing because it's a permanent command and control structure for operations. These are military missions in real training missions in reality. And also that could be also extended to RDC, which is the rapid deployment capacity, and also to executive military operations. But that has not happened up until now. PESCO, Permanent Structure Cooperation, that was the idea by the Lisbon Treaty to extend enhanced cooperation also to defense. These are mainly projects. There are 68 projects at the moment, and CARD, Coordinated Annual Review on Defense, that is a review of defense spending of member states, mainly done by European Defense Agency and the External Action Service. EDF is the defense fund. That was also a taboo to spend EU budget money on defense. So this is a very important novelty as well. EPF, another taboo has fallen with providing weapons to a country which is in an armed conflict, which is in war, with the European Peace Facility, for example, to Ukraine. And RDS, which is the rapid deployment capacity, it is under construction. It should be ready next year as well, 2025. So there are lots of different ideas. And I also tried to map national defense policies regarding European strategic autonomy. But I went through the different strategic documents of the member states. Not all, preferably I tried to find, and I was reading, national security strategies, but not all of them have that in reality. the concept of European Defence Union is not mentioned in those documents. But sometimes the strategic autonomy, yes, and that was very interesting. I made an assessment, a kind of literature review of the secondary literature, and I also analyzed the latest national security strategic documents. And there is the first group, which mentioned European strategic autonomy as a priority. Another group have developed the concept of open strategic autonomy, which is very interesting. And there is the third group, where neither European strategic autonomy nor open strategic autonomy are mentioned. And just a few words about the weak four countries, because that one can be interesting for us. For example, France. I have mentioned that France has become the most important political supporter of European strategic autonomy and European sovereignty as well. And also the promotion of European strategic autonomy is one of the most important priorities of that document. So that in that one we can find it. The first comprehensive national security strategy of Germany was accepted in 2023. And that one, first of all, and the whole European integration process is seen, first of all, as a peace project by that document. And the text does not mention explicitly European strategic autonomy or sovereignty, only the strengthening the European Union's ability to act, I think autonomously or not. And that is one of the main interests of Germany. And also strengthening the European pillar of NATO, because today, usually when we are talking about CSDP and the future of CSDP, it is seen as a kind of European pillar of NATO. Italy doesn't have a national security strategy. The last white paper was published in 2015, but there is a so-called multi-year defense planning document for 23 and 25 that is published every year. And that is talking about the strengthening the initiative of operation of the European EU CSDP, supporting its ambition of growing strategic autonomy. The European strategic autonomy is seen as a complementary tool for national and European security, and not as a tool for decreasing the dependence on transatlantic relations. So that is very important, that it's complementary, should be something complementary. And Spain has a more comprehensive approach towards strategic autonomy, including also justice and home affairs, including economic issues, and it is not a coincidence that Spain with the Netherlands has published a non-paper on open strategic autonomy. This is the new idea for avoiding protectionism in Europe, on the European level, because there has been a criticism by member states regarding the whole idea of strategic autonomy, European strategic autonomy, mainly by the Netherlands, East Central European countries as well, Baltic states, Scandinavian countries as well, criticized that idea for potential promotion of protectionism, for undermining transatlantic alliance, possibly, or for the reason these member states have promoted the concept of open strategic autonomy. So there have been several non-papers regarding that idea, which is more open to the world. And just as a conclusion, member states have, of course, different ideas and interests and views on the concepts and on the future of CSDP. European Union has launched several very important initiatives strengthening defense capabilities and also autonomy of the European Union. These are the different pillars: PESCO, CART, European Defense Fund, and MPCC and European Peace Facility, and the rapid deployment capacity as well. However, it is said sometimes that in terms of size, ambitions, none of these developments fully met the initial high expectations. And I would say also that after the war and after the Russian aggression in Ukraine, NATO is stronger than ever, and that is primarily responsible for collective defense. There is the question that CSDP could or become European pillar of this transatlantic relationship. I just put here Natalie Tocci, because she was the one who worked also with Federica Mogherini, wording the global strategy. And she said that EU can help develop full spectrum force that will enable European countries to contribute more to territorial defense in the context of NATO. And I would finish it here, and thank you for your attention.